traveler to my realm of nightmares. Allow me to be your personal assistant in my realm. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable, for when you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.
I've felt this way before. The air has grown thick with the scent of iron, the sound of clattering metal shackles, and the shattering of brittle bones as the flesh attached to them is torn off piece by piece, always drills into me an overwhelming and sobering sensation. Death is just around the corner, and yet every time that I try to reach to it, the thing vanishes, almost like it never existed, and leaving behind just traces of the body it had just gotten done dismembering. It's always been like this down at the state penitentiary for months now. One night out of the month, an otherworldly being will find its way into this building and claim a victim. All the inmates here are set for either life without parole or are living their final days out on death row. But saying that I don't feel some lick of sympathy for the poor souls who end up being the victim to this thing would mean that I've lost all sense of my own humanity. Chasing these things was going to require more of me than just running around and guns and flashlight blazing every time the lights go out. Considering how the lights would soon be going out permanently on this place if I didn't get down to the bottom of these killings, I was going to have to get creative. I'm a 37-year-old prison guard and have worked in this facility for almost 5 years, while having almost 19 years in service. My entire life has been spent serving my community by looking after and safeguarding the worst of the worst in society. The pay hasn't always been worth it, but the job itself was worth it enough for me to stay. Most people would have left this job after seeing what I've seen, but I'm no quitter. I'm tough as leather, always have been. So, for me to say that working here at night left a feeling in me worse than finding out that I'm drinking a 4-hour-old cup of joe the hard way, it was up to me and a couple other guys tasked with this place to stop these killings. It was hard enough to explain to the families of these victims how their precious sons or brothers ended up being murdered in a facility without a trace of their persons to speak of. It was even harder to try and keep their lips shut about their losing their family members here. If we were going to keep this facility from being shut down and condemned, we were going to have to think big. Texas couldn't lose its biggest facility for the worst of the worst. I needed to do something to keep this place alive, so that we had one last place in the world to hide and bury what Mother Nature never bothered to get rid of herself. With all the other officers having given up on this old place, I had no choice but to reach out for some extra help. I reached out to an old colleague of mine and tried to get a hold of some investigators who would know what to look for and, better yet, be able to put a stop to this thing and its late-night eating habits. He was a weirdo at the best of times and a downright creep at the worst. But if anybody was going to know how to be able to corral these things and get them out of my penitentiary, it'd be him. He was always dead silent walking into a room, but the moment you strike up a conversation, you couldn't get him to shut the hell up. New conspiracy theory this, new conspiracy theory that. I just wish that I could sometimes get him to shut his trap. Well, for once, I wish he'd open his trap. He arrived not long after I left a voicemail regarding the most recent incident. This was the third death, and the public wasn't going to take it lightly. For once, I had him shut up, and I need his motor mouth to start moving. I waited there for what felt like a half an hour as he inspected the cell where the last killing had occurred. The entire time, he had nothing to say. He almost always talked while on the job. Something he saw must have caused him to shut up, It felt like it was going to take tools fit for Jawbreaker to pry his mouth back open. He ran his fingers all along the cell. He touched everything from the bars to the ceiling to the floor. We tried our best to clean up the mess that was left afterwards, but the stains left behind by this creature were as hard to clean up as blood. It almost felt like he was a bloodhound on the trail, desperate to find a lead. After he finished his inspection, he spoke. "Well, Jeremiah, I wish I had a better answer for you, but I've got nothing." I wiped my hands across my face, full on frustration at this nitwit. "Look, Brody, I brought you down here for a reason. This is the third person we've lost mysteriously in the last few months. Whatever this thing is, it keeps coming in and eating these poor bastards alive. What's worse is that we can't seem to clean up the stains it leaves behind, and I don't think that's all them are blood stains." Brody knelt down as I kept talking and ran his fingers along the spot where the bed frame was and stood up, his hand revealing whatever the liquid was that the cleaning crew were supposed to clean up. My first thought was about how the cleaners failed to do the most basic of crap. Brody's thoughts were different. "Ah, crap. I told those damn cleaners to clean this place up. Why the hell can't they do anything right?" Brody felt like he was onto something with the slime in his hand. "Hold on now, Jeremiah. I think I'm onto something with this. I have to look around this room some more." He walked over to where the window was and saw that there were more stains like the ones that were left on the floor. Only this time, it was formed what looked like a ring. This stuff was new. I had never seen something like this before. Brody spoke up again. "Look at this, Jer. You see this ring right here?" "Yeah, what about it?" "Whatever the hell it was that came in and ate one of your prisoners left a mark where it came in. Call me crazy, Jer, but I think that this thing came in through the wall." I let out a laugh straight for the belly. "You gotta be out your goddamn mind, Brody. There ain't no way in hell something could have come through those walls." As I collected myself from a quick bout of what I assumed to be comedy, I saw the face of what looked like an oncoming tragedy hung over Brody's face. "I'm not joking, Jer. There's only one thing that I know of that could have done this sort of thing. I'm gonna need some time, but I think I can get you an answer for what's going on. Whether or not I can stop it is a different matter." And with that, Brody packed his things, wiped the slime off into a bag he had in his pocket, and took his leave from the prison without saying another word. I was dumbstruck by the sight of it all. For the first time ever, I had bone-headed, motor-mouthed Brody looking more scared than a deer caught in a lion's jaw. This was something I was going to have to give him time to work on, assuming there was something helpful that we could get out of all this mess. I waited until the next day to see if Brody had something for me. Normally, I would reach out to Brody and get a slew of things for him to run his mouth about. This time, he sent me straight to voicemail when I tried to call him. I called him again, hoping to get something back from him. I went straight to voicemail the second time. "Damn it, Brody. I need your help now more than ever. Lives are on the line. My job is on the line. The prison is on the line. Pick up the damn phone." I called him a third time. Finally, he answered. He sounded groggy over the other line, as if he had just woken up. It was 2 in the afternoon. "Brody, are you there?" "Yeah, Jarrett. I was up all night looking through my research and database. I just woke up from a cat nap is all." "Brody, lives are on the line right now. I'm not sure how much longer this prison's going to stay open. At the rate we're losing inmates, we are bound to have the prison shut down and have our badges revoked. This is unacceptable. I need answers, and nobody else is willing to help. Everybody's given up except for me and you. I need you to tell me what the hell this thing is. I took a deep sigh in, trying to compose myself. I need to keep from sounding like the world was collapsing around me, even if it felt like everything was breaking down. What do you got? Brody let out a groan and tried to collect himself on the other line. I know you're not at work, Jer, but you may want to head back tonight. I think that this thing that keeps eating your death row inmates isn't doing it by mistake. It's doing it with a purpose. I didn't understand what he meant by that. What the hell do you mean, Brody? Today's my day off. I can't go in tonight. Brody sighed in frustration and tried to clear his head enough to tell me what was going on in his head. Jeremiah, you're not dealing with some wild animal. You aren't dealing with something that's human. You're dealing with something far worse than any of that. I kept getting frustrated. Speak English to me, Brody. English! You're dealing with a monster, Jer. This thing is like something straight out of a horror novel. It's uncanny how it just managed to vanish through the wall like that. I have a feeling that it's getting hungrier, though. You told me it's getting more frequent with its killing. I've only seen something like this once before, and the people that it marked didn't make it out alive. You're dealing with something eviler than the worst inmate you've got locked up in there. You're dealing with something straight out of Lovecraft. The more he talked, the more he confused me. It was always like this. It was even worse considering how much was at stake. Brody, I'm only going to ask you this one more time. What the hell do you mean? The thing isn't from Earth, Jer. It's a creature from nightmares that comes out every few centuries to claim the worst of the worst. I need you to be there tonight, Jer. If precedent serves me right, this thing is going to kill again. The only difference, this time it's going after one of your own, if it means it can get to another one of the inmates. They only ever go for the worst of the worst. The documents that I've got from the past talk about how they only go for people that are tainted, meaning they only go for the worst of the worst. If one of your men's up to no good, it'll know and go after them next. Now that we know what this thing is, it's gonna kill again. We need to get everyone out of there ASAP, Jer. This thing isn't gonna stop. It's claimed the prison, and it's not gonna stop until all of the people it's claimed in there are gone. For once, he started making sense. I just wish that it was some good news. Alright, Brody. I'll see what I can do. Meet me at the prison after I give you a call. I may need your help. I hung up the phone and got dressed in my uniform. I was ready to fight for one of my men. I wasn't ready to give in. I couldn't let them come for my men. I couldn't let them come for me. I received a call from the prison at 8:30 that night, telling me that there was an issue going on and that the prison was understaffed. I had the perfect excuse to go in. I called Bertie and told him to meet me at the prison at 9 p.m. sharp. We both made our way to the prison. As we arrived at the prison, alarms went off. Things were in chaos. It was an attempted prison break. I grabbed body armor and a shield. I told Brody to wait outside and got on the radio, hoping I could get some answers back as to what was happening. Radio silence was all I heard. I signaled Brody to grab a shield and grab a gun and prepared to head in. I signaled to him that I was going to open the door. He readied up and we both made our way. What we saw was beyond belief. Blood was strewn all over the floor. All of the lights except the red emergency lights were on. Blood and bits of flesh were everywhere. Clothing from the inmates and the officers alike were strewn about everywhere. They were the only traces of the body this thing ate. I looked over near the emergency exit and found weapons and badges in a pile. Whatever it was came in and was ready to commit to their work. I looked around the corner to see a creature walking on all fours. Its body reflected like black paint on a car. It had a lean figure that reminded me of a panther. It had nothing to its face but a row of razor-sharp teeth. When I looked over at it, it screeched and ran off down the hallway. I slipped over the stream of blood trying to chase it, but right as I rounded the corner of the hallway it ran down, it vanished. All that was left was the blood and Brody. I had no way of explaining what was happening other than the evidence from the last few killings. What made matters worse was the new evidence the creature left after the killing. On the wall were the words written in blood.
"We only come for the tainted ones."
I felt a pit in the bottom of my stomach. I failed to stop it from happening. Everything I was working towards solving ended up crashing down on me. I thought it was over. The creature had won, but Brody didn't think that it was over. We both left that night disgraced. The FBI opened up a case on me and Brody, airing out all of our laundry and linking us to the deaths of everyone in the facility. We were both charged with manslaughter of hundreds of people and were sentenced to life in prison. The prison was shut down during the case and considered to be condemned. It was clear to me that the FBI was content with shoving things under the rug and trying to hide that this ever happened. They planted evidence to indicate that Brody and I killed them off, despite us never having had the manpower or anything to our disposal that would have allowed us to get rid of them all in a span of 30 minutes. They scrubbed the security footage and labeled all the information associated with the case as classified. At least for them, it seemed like this case was closed. Unfortunately for them, and for me, Brody had a point when he said that they were all marked by the beast. I kept hearing weird noises at night and seeing weird figures at night coming down the halls. I think that this creature is hunting me down. I admit that my pasts weren't the cleanest, nor was I the best person in my former line of work, but I don't think that I deserve a fate like this. Either way, whether or not I think it's wrong for this thing to kill me, I feel like my time is just about up. I figured that I'd write this out in case I could find some way of getting this out to someone before it gets scrubbed like everything else. Those who are out to harm the little guy in this world, remember that there's always something bigger and worse that's ready to eat you alive. Sometimes literally. As for me, I'm pretty sure that I'm damned to a fate worse than prison. My soul might as well be claimed by this thing now. After all, it only comes after the wicked. It only wants the tainted ones. Tonight's story was written by Timothy Duran. He is an amazing author and a very good friend. He has been on this channel a few times now. Please check out his new book, The Corrupted Opus. His links will be in the description below. I also want to say thank you to all my Patreons, 242 Reads, Rando Calrissian, Pam, Silver Threads, Setterfin, the Midnight Bard, and Hair-Raising Narratives. If you want to join these lovely travelers by the light of my fire, you can do so by becoming a Patreon. The support is always appreciated, but never expected.
But as always, travelers, once you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.